In this video, we're going to be breaking down my group's 18 Maisara run that we completed early this, I guess, second week of the season. This was a monstrous run, and we ended up finishing rank 1 US and rank 10 world. Now, unfortunately, like a couple hours later, it was beat, but this was a pretty good run. There was a few things that went right, a few things that went wrong, and I'm going to talk about everything in this video. So I hope you guys enjoy the breakdown. Per usual, I'm going to leave my talent loadout down below, so if you'd like to copy it, obviously more than free. So first poll, I'm going to actually place down an ox statue just to get them all kind of grouped up so I can hit them with keg smash, and then I'm going to be dashing down to the left-hand side, grabbing this headhunter and second berserker. I should have gotten melee range here, a little bit of an oopsie on my part, and then we're going to position ourselves right next to this rock, ring of piecing the headhunter up and taunting in this soul eater. So this first poll can be pretty hectic. I did just do a video talking about how to set up this poll, and we're going to be going to the left side in terms of routing. Now, I'll talk about some of the stuff and the reasoning why in a little bit, but when we are focusing on this first poll, we're starting off with Black Ox, and we're trusting that Black Ox will be able to carry us through most of this poll, along with things like Purifying Brew, Celestial Infusion, Black Ox Brew, and just because the poll is relatively sizable, most of our healing should be coming from Celestial Fortune and Vital Flame. So pretty tame. Once my Ox fades, I actually then commit Fortifying Brew to make use of that cooldown as well, because this is the probably most explosive, scary pull of this dungeon, at least for the tank. The Necrotic Wave will only ever target basically melee players. It cleaves off of the tank, and the Headhunter just needed to be kicked on their hook snare. Anyways, our healer is going to be grabbing the two men, and we are going to be grabbing these bears and setting up our first or our next pull. So I'm going to be grabbing the Hex Guardian, the Berserkers, two bears, and I'm going to be putting down an Ox statue to pull these Mire laborers out without having to like run in awkwardly to the tent. Now our priority here is the Hex Guardian. Now this is a pull that's a little sketchy because if we get too many stacks from the bears, we're actually going to be taking a ton of damage. And so if that happens, we need to kites. Now we did get one stack and then two stacks, and then what ended up happening here is that our DK's pet spawned in a very strange location. It's probably one of the most annoying things about about Unholy DK right now, that their pets, their little like brittle mages, can spawn kind of anywhere, and if it spawns too close to mobs, you'll end up pulling it. So a quick grip was deployed onto the caster to get it in. We're trying to finish off. You did notice I had to kite just a little bit there until I had my ox up. Link was dropped, which helps. And, and the reason I talk a little bit earlier is because there's this weird thing where Link always gets dropped right as I roll out, which is just always super, super funny. So I'm just pinging on where the mage spawned at because we were talking about it at this point. Random side note, I'm going to try to upload this raw VOD with comms over on my Patreon. It'll be free for anyone, but you can go check out that page there. You can join as a free member for some free content. And then there's also paid content as well, or at least early access. Anyways, we're going to grab this one dude here, and we're going to actually head into the hut. So this is a slate iteration that my group has made to our run. Inside, there's nothing crazy dangerous. There's a couple of laborers. There's two hexers. You just have to kick them on bolts and on hexes. And then the headhunters that are outside should eventually just kind of run in. Luckily, we do have death grip. So we're going to be using that as much as we can to make sure that the mobs are kind of stacked. Now, fighting inside of this house is a little uncomfortable just because your camera is super zoomed in, but the pole's not dangerous. There's no frontals to dodge. Most mobs should relatively stay stacked up. And so your goal here is just to clear everything down. So the root went on CL, so I applied a Tiger's Lust to him to remove that, and we're just gonna make sure we are. I was gonna say staying in melee, but if everyone's in melee, the headhunters don't throw spears and they just melee the tank. If you decide to have someone stand out of melee, our shaman's just getting like pelted over and over again, basically. The throw spears always go on range, like I said. So again, because Chicken is our only range DPS, or I guess range person in this comp, he's always going to get thrown speared. That's how you say it. Anyways, Berserker finally goes down here, and we're going to be dipping our weapons in this ritual cauldron. And this is going to apply a like a poison effect to all of our weapons. You can now see my staff is glowing like this green effect. Basically, we're now going to be just applying like a little burst of nature damage on hits. It ends up being a pretty small amount. I think for the tank, it's about 1% damage. For your DPS, it's like a 3.5% damage increase, and for your healer, it's like a 4% damage increase or something along those lines. Because the damage is a static amount, and it just depends on how much damage you do overall. Anyways, this pull we're setting up, two things to look out for here. We have the hook snare from the headhunter, and then we also have like the shadow bolt slash hex coming out from the hexer. Now we're going to prioritize the juggernaut because this is the thing that we want to die. Obviously, it does a lot of group damage, it does a lot of tank damage, but everything else in here is pretty tame. There are a couple of eagles. Eagles channel a random frontal, and if a frontal happens, obviously you're going to want to stop that, especially if it's in melee, cleaving people. Luckily, this pull went down without really much of an issue. And now that the pull's almost dead, we're going to be getting ready to go into our next pull here once we free these two prisoners. So these two prisoners should give us our 8 of 8. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to jump down. I'm going to roll dash to prevent fall damage. We're going to be grabbing both bears, all the little masks that we're patrolling, the headhunter and the berserker. Priority here is headhunter, for sure. They always leap away from the tank, so I'm going to drop a ring of peace here in a second to make sure that they kind of get knocked back to me. Unfortunately, my ring was a little bit off, but that's something I'm going to be working on here in the future. Bears can be deadly as well. They apply this thing called crunch armor, which is a straight up 10% damage increase per stack. And so if you're a tank that doesn't dodge, if like let's say you're watching this and you're a prot warrior, you might end up getting more stacks of that crunch armor effect versus like something like a brewmaster. So just keep that in mind. Now this pull is pretty tame. It's mostly like the first pull and that last pull that we just did that it's really dangerous in. But here we're kind of chilling. So the berserkers unfortunately have this healing effect on them, which like every 5 seconds they heal for like 2% of their max health, which makes killing them actually take quite a bit of time. Anyways, we're going to be mounting up here, and then we're going to be shrouding through. But we do want to watch the spectral sight on the left side, and then we're going to actually shroud all the way over to this corner. Now, you don't need shroud to do the skip. We shrouded because the patrol was in like a really awkward spot. But anyways, the ritual mask and all the ritual masks and the hex guardian get pulled here along with 2 mire laborers. This pull looks big, but it's going to get deleted really quick. You can see the mob health just getting absolutely deleted because of our unholy decay, I believe, popping cooldowns and our arms warrior popping cooldowns. And so then what we're going to do after this is we're going to pull some mobs onto boss by using some interesting snap tech. So this hex guardian's targeting a player with this red arrow. If you're that player, just move away from everyone else. And if you're not that player, fucking run. Don't get hit by it. Anyways, these mire laborers are easy to snap down. Here is how you do it. You pull them, and then you jump into the arena. It's very simple. Now, there is a bug that if you accidentally snap them on top of something, for example, like these little braziers that are in the room, these little pyres, it'll reset the boss. Also, when they snap down, they're going to evade for about 8 seconds or so. So I waited to pull the boss just for a couple seconds so people can get their damage out here. Now, this damage is really going to benefit our arms warrior and arguably the DK, but mostly the arms warrior here to get some big damage out. So you're going to start seeing that our arms warrior is going to start climbing here once he gets like his demolish, and now he's able to just kind of spam cleave. So this is mostly, whenever you see us pulling on a trash, it's going to be for our arms warrior specifically. So we're pulling the boss away. I always like to pull just past the traps. So everyone should spawn their trap near melee. And then we're going to always walk past it to give us enough room for when the bird does its giant circle. We can dodge out, then dodge in. We're spread for the barrage. And then the player who gets targeted moves into the closest trap. So that's kind of the play here. Now, unfortunately, Zuzu popped cooldowns on the previous pull and didn't have them for boss. So his damage is going to look pretty low here. And I was able to pad using my Black Ox. So, well, at least for a little bit of it. So that's why the damage looks a little goofy here. Now, one thing that I'm also doing is I am trying to dispel my team as often as possible. The priority is me first. I know it's weird as a tank, but the pinions, that debuff, comes out at the same time the tank buster does. And so I think the tank being in a little bit of peril there is obviously dangerous. So I dispel myself first, and then I dispel CL next because he's the next squishiest player. And then after that, I dispel Chicken. At least I should be trying to. And then after that, I could dispel either Carrot or Zuzu, but they're like really tanky, just naturally as their classes, but also they're good players defensively. And so there isn't really much of a need to actually dispel them, especially because the dot's about to fade. But the debuff lasts for 30 seconds. You can dispel every 8. And so you should be able to clear most of them. And so this fight becomes really rinse and repeat. Trap spawn, we move just past the traps so melee don't accidentally walk over them. I like to stay near the wall so the boss doesn't leap out with his flanking strike. We dodge out, then we dodge in, we spread out for barrage, and then we get ready to go to the closest trap. So there's a green marker down. They could go to the other one as well. Now this one's really weird. He ends up moving into the trap, but his pet dispels him or something is the theory that we had. And unfortunately, he gets absolutely fucking launched. His body just hit the floor there. So while we're recovering, we're just kind of like trying to get our bearings. I'm trying to stay alive. The boss jumped out in a direction that wasn't ideal, but again, we were trying to find our footing again. But that was the only hiccup pretty much on this fight. So now we're going to keep doing kind of the same rotation. So we're just rotating around the edge of the room in a line or in a circle. I guess a line is circle is a line kind of that connects. That's curvy. Uh it's I shouldn't be recording these at fucking like 2 in the morning. Anyways, yeah, rinse and repeat. Very chill fight. The flanking strike actually can take you by surprise. So you do want to be careful on it. And that's yeah, that's very much it. Like there's not much to talk about in this fight after that. You do want to cleave them down pretty evenly. I believe the best thing that you can do is actually kill the bird slightly earlier, because if you kill the Murojin first, the bird enrages like this, and you can see that we start taking crazy ticking damage from those pinions. But if we killed the bird first, the boss cancels all his mechanics and he just tries to cast Revive Pet, meaning that you just hit a training dummy basically, and as long as you can kill him in that 15-second window, boss dies. Now, unfortunately, there's a little bit of RP here. Not the end of the world, just kind of natty. It's going to happen. It's kind of hard to like go and pull other trash while you're waiting anyways. But we just have Lust coming up. Came up about, a minute and a half ago, mid-fight. So what we're going to do is we're going to run in. We're going to drop statue. I'm going to grab this first skirmisher. The rest of the mobs are going to run up to the statue. Because they're grouped, I'm able to get a keg smash, grab this last warrior, kick the shade once it starts casting, and then we're going to be pulling the mini boss with Lust. Now, this is how I like to set up this first pull. We're then going to move towards the altar because I want to be in range for when someone gets, rooted here by the sacrifice. I'm able to Tiger's Lust them out. So it's going to target Zuzu here. I'm going to Tiger's Lust him. Now he's free. He can come back to the pack. And now that that's done, I'm going to get ready to pull in this next shade. So this entire room to us is going to be like one giant chain pull. So here we go. I'm going to grab the shade, get a kick, and now we are grouped up once again. Still playing near the altar, close enough where I can Tiger's Lust, or players can quickly swap to it if we need to kill it for any reason, even though I should have Tiger's Lust for every single one. And then as the warriors die and start to reanimate, I'm going to then just we'll CC and then I'll pull in more warriors. CL was able to either vanish or meld there. I believe he probably melded, but you can meld it. Unfortunately, the Gnarl didn't put that in a kind of uncomfortable situation or spot, but the mini boss is about to go down here. This is the last Invoke Shadows, and it disappears once he's dead. So now the priority is just to kill Gnarlden. Basically, we're always going to try to have a priority mob in the pull. That priority mob is the Gnarlden, and cleave onto everything else. Ideally, we only ever have one caster, but if we have two, like we do right now, it's not the end of the world. We have death grips. We have plenty of melee kicks to keep them locked down. And we have things like Spell Reflect and AMS. So this comp, incredibly tanky outside of Rogue, which is very funny because historically Outlaw Rogue has been very tanky between the ability of just elusiveness and being able to spam Feint, Cloak of Shadows, evasion. But I believe they got rid of all the cooldown reduction that used to come with a lot of that stuff and in their talent tree. So they don't have their cooldowns as frequently anymore, which makes them now susceptible to some damage profiles. Anyways, we pulled in the skirmishers. Our shaman is slowly purging. He purges, then he heals us up. He purges again, heals us up. Because every time one of those shields is removed, whether it's removed via purge, spell steal, or it's broken through, it does a burst of damage. And the last thing that we want to happen is we break all the shields at the same time and we all get one shot. And so what he does is he starts to kind of stagger break those shields. So I somehow whiffed my kick 3 times because I had something else set focused. But anyways, Gnarlden now goes down, and now our priority target is this defender. So with the defender, it's very important that you aim the frontal away. And it's not like a frontal, it's the shield. But if you're aiming the shield at your group, they're going to lose out on damage as soon as it pops up. So aiming it at the wall means that DPS don't even have to think about it. They can just hit the guy. They're always going to be behind him, and it should be relatively tame. Now, having double caster once again is dangerous, but we're going to make it work. And then this pole will go down. Now, funnily enough, for some reason that tornado is still active. I'm even gonna like ping it. That's what we were talking about here. Like, we killed the guy. One of his tornadoes disappeared, but the other one didn't, which we found kind of strange. Anyways, this area is a lot of fun. We're gonna end up grabbing 2 warriors across the way. The soul render, which is the priority target. It's 2 skirmishers that we're gonna take. Like, we're gonna just rotate purging, and I believe it's just one other warrior. So this pull is a little tight, but it's not the end of the world. I'm gonna tag these bats as they fly overhead. If you're max camera distance and like tilt your camera up like bird's eye view, like I'm doing here, it's pretty easy to see the bats. You just click on them as they fly by, and you either taunt them or hit crackling J lightning, and that's it. Now, originally we weren't gonna pull this defender, but it ended up getting pulled in because of the DK's pets once again. I was saying though, like we were kind of freaking out about it, or at least my group was. And I was like, you know what? It's fine if it pulls, it pulls. We're gonna just kill it. We're gonna walk with it. It's count, and then we can skip things later. What's nice about this dungeon, at least based on the comp that was a really bad shield placement on my part. Um, as long as we have a rogue, which we do, we can skip most of the end of the bridge at the end of the dungeon, which we're going to end up doing. So having a little extra count earlier on like this, especially because most of these mobs are pretty much fodder, it's not a bad thing to pull this defender. It's just very annoying. As you can see, I'm getting like launched every couple seconds, and then the mobs follow me, so then people aren't able to hit them, and they live longer, and that's kind of the issue here. Really quick, I just kind of want to mention defensives. I'm basically always rotating between my cow, my Black Ox, and Fortifying Brew. And so I use Black Ox. Once Black Ox fades, I use Fortifying Brew. And then there will be a small window where you don't have any of those cooldowns, but then Nizao or our cow or Black Ox, whatever you want to call it, will come back up. And yeah, it's just that rotation. So I have my cow again, so I'm going to be using it now, deploying it. Same thing here. I'm going to be aiming my camera up into the air because I can actually pull bats at this point. Bats are kind of like free count. Here's one of them. I'm going to like tag that, Crackling J Lightning. The only thing you have to be careful with bats is they do cast a frontal called Disrupting Screech. Or Piercing Screech, sorry. And what it does is it just does damage to everyone in that line. It's just like a frontal AoE cone. It's almost like Overwhelming Force if you're played Master of Harmony Brewmaster. It's basically that. And so ideally, when you're walking with them and moving with them, you want to be very consistent with your positioning. So DPS aren't accidentally like walking on top of you. Now, unfortunately, there's nothing you can really do to control that. If people are going to stand on you, they're going to stand on you. And it is what it is. You can try kicking it, but there's way, way, way more important kicks for players to grab. So because there's bats and because I just grabbed these warriors, I'm going to slowly walk with these guys. There's a world where I just rush to the bottom of the stairs and my DPS follow. But with bats being in the pole, I just wanted to try to stay with the group so they know where I am and where I'm positioned so they don't get clipped by those frontals. Now that we're near the bottom, I'm going to be grabbing this pack, getting kicks on the blast, and then we're going to be heading up to the boss room to start our P so that the souls stop coming. What I mean by that is this soul render will cast an ability that makes the souls run at your players and blow up, which is not good. And so if you can stop that, the better. And then also they root or they slow. I don't know if they change the root to a slow, but basically, if you walk into them, you're going to be CC'd in some capacity, whether it's a slow or a root. And so getting rid of those souls from walking down the stairs is a good stop. So at this point in the dungeon, we were thinking like, okay, we have 4 minutes till lust, but this is a scary boss. But this boss was also changed. So when you connect the souls on this fight, they no longer do like rot damage. They no longer apply a dot. But Blizzard did increase the initial damage by 25%. So it's a pretty large hit. You want to be healthy for it, but it won't ever cause you to bleed out. And so your group has time to like recover basically. Anyways, we're going to be heading down here now because we've decided that we kind of want lust. We have a hexer that we just gripped over, which is good. I should be setting focus to it, but I did not. And then we're going to be grabbing warriors off to our right by using Ox Statue to basically taunt them. And then they're going to come over here and we're going to hit them with a Kex Smash, making sure we have plenty of threat. Now this pull, I've gone back and forth on, like, if this is effective or not. It's a big pull, it's a fun pull, it doesn't do a lot of group damage almost at all, but it doesn't give a lot of count. But I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing because I feel like nothing in this dungeon actually gives good count. And so I currently like the pull, but I've thought about this a lot. I'm like, man, I wonder if there's something else that we could pull that's just like more efficient. If you know or you have any suggestions, leave them down below and maybe I'll try them in a future run. I always like it when you guys give me like suggestions and stuff because I do end up using them sometimes. Sometimes I just think you might be a little overcooked, but you know, the ox statue tech at the very start of this dungeon that I used in the very first pull, someone suggested that actually earlier today to me, so I did it. Fuck yeah. Now, as this pull goes down, we're gonna CC these warriors. Now, unfortunately, we still have about a minute 15 until lust. We're gonna lust on cooldown or try to. We're definitely gonna miss, but I'm gonna be grabbing two more warriors for fodder for funnel, and I will talk about how we do that while we pull the fight. So warriors don't do much. All they do is melee the tank. Drain soul from the boss is really dangerous. This is essentially where you want to cooldown at. So for me, I used my trinket off the rip, my gloom splatter dread scale, and I banked on that being enough. The next time it comes out, I might use my fortifying brew, and then the next time I'm gonna make sure I have my cow active. But basically, this fight's pretty tame when you have a DK because look at this. He just grips it over, it blows up, and it's GG. The idea for this fight is you want to actually be able to break one set before the frontal, then one set after. Also, it's worth noting that the mobs that spawn that are fixating players, they take 99% reduced damage. The reason this is important is because as a monk, you can paralysis one of them if you need to stop it in its tracks for some reason. But it won't break from damage if it's really close because it's taking 99% reduced and there is a damage threshold. So right here, I'm actually going to para my close one. And so our rogue can do its thing. Now, unfortunately, the ring got a little buggy there. I think we tried a death grip on the ring, maybe. So I'm going to provoke it over. It's going to do a burst of damage, and then we're going to be chilling here. And so the warriors are now coming over. So what I didn't mention about the warriors earlier is we're letting them die, like right now, but then we're not interrupting their reanimation cast. We're letting them stay alive. And the reason we're doing this is because this is giving our warrior, albeit a little bit of pad, it's giving him additional funnel and effective damage on cleave. So when he cleaves at least 3 targets, it heroic strikes his main target, dealing additional single target damage on top of that cleave damage that is already going out. So it's a little bit of pad, a little bit of, funnel. Grip comes out, very good grip by Zuzu. He did a really good job here actually getting these like in really quickly and at like a consistent time so our shaman was able to kind of quickly top us. So I'm going to provoke the Farad, ring closer, and then I'm going to do that right before the reanimation happens so I don't actually get rid of our funnel. And then Drain Soul comes out, and then I think we do one more ad set here. And when it comes to these warriors, eventually they will die. Eventually. But what ends up happening is that eventually we end up just like kicking them and CCing them, and it all ends up being fine. So grip came out there, frontal's happening. I'm gonna actually sweep the close one here, and then the carrot, I believe it is just gonna like shift over to the left. So yeah, that's how we do this fight. This warrior is gonna go down, and then I'm gonna just kick it just to get it out because the boss is at 6% health. We don't need that funnel anymore, especially because we've already CC'd the other one. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We're gonna break the shield and then finish off the boss. So as you can see, we are at 75.22%. That's a lot of percent. Most groups will aim to be around 85% here, or maybe even 80, depending on how much you want to pull on the bridge. So what we're gonna do, and we honestly pulled a lot of extra stuff. We pulled an extra pack at the start on accident, and then we pulled an extra defender on accident. So we pulled about an extra 5 or 8% or so, or something along those lines. And so we're just gonna shroud. We're gonna commit it. We're gonna shroud. We're all mounted. And then what we need to do is we're gonna end up grabbing this defender, and I'm gonna be grabbing this bat. Now this bat did this weird pathing thing where he like didn't come down right away. He just kind of like hung out up there. But then we also need the other bat because the defender gives about 2.5%, and then each bat gives about 0.85. and then the last guy gives like 1.15 or something along those lines. And so, yeah, we're gonna need that extra bat once it flies around. We're just watching out for the piercing screech. The other bat, I believe, just flew past us, but that's fine because I'm gonna end up grabbing it a little bit later, and we're gonna pull it onto boss, which is just fun. It's fun pulling trash onto boss. What can I say? So right here, I'm going to start looking for the bat now. I didn't realize that it passed before. I thought it had like a longer circuit than it did. But here it ended up being okay. So we're going to get that kick. I see the bat is far. Now, the thing about this next to little mini boss is your group can definitely just go. So I pulled the bat, and then my group was like, "Are you coming up?" And I was like, "No, you guys can go. Like, I'm gonna just get this bat, make sure that the frontal isn't aiming at the group, make sure nothing happens with its pathing, and then we're gonna head over to this boss." Now, Monk is really good for this because we always have Touch of Death, or should have Touch of Death, so we can actually kill this guy from like 20% health or 30% health even. And that is really good because this guy is dangerous. It like sometimes healers even have to pop CDs on this random mob that doesn't do anything outside of hit a drum, which is crazy. All right, final fight. I think a lot of you guys will really like this fight because I have a little secret tech here. So by positioning ourselves up against this pyre, we actually prevent the knockback and the pool from spawning, and all we have to do is kick the bat. And so I'll do a video in the very near future, probably at some point tomorrow, maybe a short, maybe a video, where I'm going to go over exactly how this works. But long story short, on this pyre or this little brazier behind us, there are like branches. And some characters, depending on your model, if you're playing like a Tauren, it's actually harder to do, but you can tuck yourself up underneath those branches that are on the corner, and it prevents you from jumping. And because it prevents you from jumping, it also prevents you from getting knocked back because your character gets clipped on that. And the way that your character gets clipped, it actually prevents the pool from spawning, meaning that all you have to do is pull this boss to this pyre, stand there, and it's good. Now, I have a sneaking suspicion. Not that Blizzard watches my videos, if you, for some reason, if they are, hi Blizzard, hello. Um, they're gonna fix this. I have a feeling they're gonna fix it. It just it is what it is. These things get fixed. We got Cinder Brumetery fixed back in the day. This dungeon, I think they could potentially fix this as well. But anyways, now we're going into the bridge. So unfortunately, our CC here wasn't super coordinated. What you can do and what you should do is you should save the last mob and you should see we gripped it there. But if everyone, all your DPS and your healer runs up the stairs, I'm going to get a quick Tiger's Lust on Zuzu there to get him out of that route. But if everyone gets up the stairs and then you interrupt the last ad, you extend your damage buff. I believe this is how it works. And then you can get more damage buff uptime, which is good. So normally you'd have the tank stay back because the tank shouldn't die to like bleeding out, basically. But anyways, we lusted. But we lusted while our shaman was outside of this room and everyone else was inside. So I think only our DK ended up getting lust because you have to all be in the same realm to get that lust. So I'm going to actually end up opening up my bags and popping drums here in a second just to do it. It was a very inefficient use of lust. We wanted to lust on the last boss. We hit it too early. And then when we went to lust here, our shaman was outside of the arena and then gave no one real lust. So we are fake lusting here. So without the death and with a real lust, I think this timer could have been just crazy fast. I do think that we could get a 19 done in time. It would be very close, but based on this run, I think it's doable. And so I'm looking forward to progressing this, dungeon in the upcoming week to see if we can get a 19 on the board in week 2, which would be crazy. Final set of totems is coming out here, I believe. And then we're going to try to, again, we're cleaving them down. I'm staying next to this pyre. For some reason, I'm getting sucked here, which is really strange because I didn't think it could target me. And I don't have the debuff, but I think what happened is it was maybe targeting Carrot or Zuzu, and maybe they melded or something happened there, which is just rough. Also, keep him near the door so your DPS can have max uptime when they get back. Try to do that every time before this phase starts, like get him towards that like little spirit wall. I'm going to ring a piece to the left side this time. Then I'm going to para. Then we're going to do something. I'm going to roll in and kick. And now I'm going to just stand here. So I'm going to stand here until I see that my DPS are up by that X marker, or at least up the stairs. And then I'm going to sweep. It gives them the buff because they're still in the realm. It extends it. And now we are able to do more damage for a longer period of time. We actually have an extra like 4 seconds on this buff. And so doing this goes a long way if you're playing in a coordinated group. But anyways, we dispatch for Daza, or Raktul, I guess is this guy's name. And that is the run. So a little bit of IO gained. That's awesome. I don't think I'll be pushing for the next few days, unfortunately, because just we have schedule conflicts and some people raid. We're raiding and then Carrot raids on different days. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this run. I hope you guys got some value out of it. Let me know if you have any questions down below or suggestions, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.